And, oh, they did make it, I think. Shion? Are we alive? Hmm? That looks like the roof. Ceiling, whatever. And apparently something killed the artificial gravity.
Where are we?
Floating
There is no
in
EPR
nothingness.
radar and no data from the UMN. I'm unable to determine our position.
He's swimming.
In the far reaches of the universe?
I don't even know if we're in the universe at this point. What's that? What the hell?
What's that? A transmission?
No way! There's no UMN, so how can there be a transmission?
Talk about obsolete communication methods. This is an electromagnetic type transmission.
Can we respond?
Yes, I'll give it a try.
Of course. We know that voice.
Miyuki?
Yes, that's right. It's me, Miyuki.
Of all people to run into, really. The fact that this thing can move is contradicted in the database later.
Look!
It's really weird. But
It's the Damarong!
the Damarong's still in one piece.
Thank goodness. I'm so glad you're alive.
Yeah, according to the database, I think it's Joshua.
Honestly. That girl.
Yeah. We needed a cheesy line like that to end on, I know. But yeah, apparently Joshua, the Wilhelm's mech, is
You're
the
going
power
already.
source for the Damarong,
The only clue we
which
have
wouldn't make
is the
sense if we
fragmented
just killed it.
information left in the Y data. And with the loss of the UMN, you won't be able to use any transfer flight methods. All you'll have at your disposal is normal flight.
Which, as I was explaining with the Star
I'm afraid it's
Star
going to be a
Trek
little different.
analogy, is
Yes.
not very fast.
I know I made a promise to Chaos.
I mix up all my Star
I know
series all
that
the time.
somehow I'll reach Lost Jerusalem.
Shion, may I want to go with you, Shion.
Thank you so much, Momo. But you know, you already have something to do here. You'll be working with Scientia to construct a brand new network. Make sure you do your very best.
Scanty has always been
Okay.
for networks, just not
I
for the
will.
UMN. They have their
Shion.
own way of
Junior.
connecting.
Yeah. Momo, we'll be gone for a little while. So take care of this place.
Okay.
She's his reason to
What is it?
return.
Will you be sure to say hello to Albedo for me?
Yeah. I'll pass him the message when he wakes up. But he's pretty lazy, so I don't know when that'll be.
She doesn't really want to talk to Albedo. I'm sure she still hates his guts.
Ziggy,
But that
take
was
care
for
of Momo and Yuli
Junior.
for us, okay?
Yes, of course.
I'm not a big
Don't worry.
fan of that
Concentrate
line.
on your mission.
Now, based on how much Ziggy cares for Momo, I'm sure they'll end up living
We'll see
together,
you soon.
even
Until
though
then.
they've never said anything about there being a relationship between Yuli and Ziggy. It wouldn't surprise me to see them ending up together just because of how much Ziggy cares for Momo, and vice versa. But yeah, it's a rather quick ending after all that.
I'll be waiting for you.
There's not really a whole lot they can show based on what they did, and of
I'll
course
keep
there's
waiting
Albie there.
until you finally come back. Good luck. See you soon.
Is gone and the night is still so dark. I'm a little bit afraid of tomorrow. For this day was so long and
I don't like it as much as I like the themes in episode 1's ending, but maybe tomorrow's a pretty good ending theme. It's alright. Helmer's alive! Yay! I guess he's feeling for Albedo's heartbeat.
Jin, now I think I understand what Wilhelm wanted to do. Just a little bit better.
Wilhelm
His
wasn't
methods
evil.
may have been wrong, but now I think I understand the logic behind his reasons. Living the same life over and over again, but living those lives without any regrets is what really matters. That's probably what the ideal vision of being human is all about. However, we humans are really not that strong. And we know that we can't live like that.
Dogtooth is
We're
alive.
creatures
Still hasn't
that are
done anything.
much more flawed, weak, and smaller than that. We hurt others. We lie to ourselves. We hate. We blame others. We regret. But even if we are weak, and even if it is our fate to disappear entirely, I think the will to change the future is still an important one. We must try to change the things around us, little by little, even if it is
Way to go, Ellen.
one step at a time. And even if everything is already predetermined, it's not something for us to be sad about. No, on the contrary, the future is overflowing with hope, and we have infinite paths to choose from.
Well, isn't that nice?
Isn't that right? Chaos. KOS-MOS.
They're the ones who set it up, so there will be infinite possibilities, and everyone free to make those choices. No longer locked into eternal recurrence. That's one of the interesting things about that, is they never really explain with the eternal recurrence how many times that's happened before. Because if the entire universe starts over from scratch, and that's basically what Wilhelm wanted to do, then how many times has he done that? Now, they do explain how this variated from kind of the norm. It is implied that he's done it before, but I don't really have a huge amount of time to talk about it at the moment, because they're going to throw somebody up on screen, and then they're going to go for more dialogue, and so I don't really have time to kind of get into that too much. It's just, I don't know, it's really interesting what they kind of brought up. The different ideas they work with in this game are just excellent. The whole series in general is really, really good. My complaints with some of the issues aside.
I guess both you and I still exist.
Chaos
in
is
this
alive.
world, after all. As long as people, as long as the universe desires it, we will continue to exist. We haven't finished what we need to do yet. So, until then, sleep well. KOS-MOS. KOS-MOS.
Good night.
Until she's needed again, she sleeps. And considering how many times she's woken up with good morning, good night is a good way to put an end to this excellent series. Time for the review. So, I don't have a lot of time to go into that because they cut through half of the credits with their little cutscene there. The graphics. The graphics are fine. I really don't care one way or the other. They do some things well, they do some things poorly. I prefer the graphical style from episode 1 more than 2 or 3, but that's a personal preference. They didn't do a lot to advance things going forward, and the different costumes really didn't do much for me. You know, the different swimsuits, it's a nice little thing. I like it in the series in general. It's cool to have the swimsuits, but they don't really do anything, and there's no real reason to use it in this game, so it's neither here nor there. The gameplay. The gameplay is different. Now, the gameplay, of course, is different from the battle system. The fact that they've allowed you to have your own traps is cool. I wish they would have just given you, like, a number in the corner instead of, like, 10 little circles or something, so that you could hold, like, 99 traps and not have to worry about it. Then I probably would have used them more, but I hate running out halfway through a dungeon and having to buy more by running back. It just doesn't really work for me. Then again, I wasn't a big fan of the trap system in general. They just were never there often enough in the first 2 games, and even now you can use them, but it doesn't really work for me. Not a big fan of that. Haycocks was a nightmare. The little mini games in this game were alright. I don't like that most of them you had a very limited window to do them, and they could make such a huge impact on the course of your game. Like, you got 80,000 G in just doing the lottery one, and that's a huge, very important thing to get. If you miss that, you're going to have struggles going forward. And I'm just not a big fan of that. Haycocks was a horrible choice to put in. It really didn't add anything to the game. It just was tedious to get through. And making things like decoders and swimsuits and ultimate weapons available through that, really, really a dick move. I really wish they hadn't have done that, but they did, so I guess that's a downside. The battle system. The battle system, it's good. Now, the thing is, pretty much with all of them, all of the Xenosaga games, is the battle systems are innovative, they're different each time, but they're easy to exploit. In episode 2, it's not quite so much easy, but you can exploit it. I made it look a lot easier in the LP than the first time you play the game, where you're going to struggle with every single battle all the time. But in this game, like the brake system, it's pointless. You can ignore the brake system for the entire series or the entire game and really struggle no less for it. Unfortunately, the enemies are still going to break you, but it really doesn't hamper your ability too much. You lose 2 turns, you still have 2 characters to keep up healing. Most of the time, it's not a big deal. It's hard to say. I kind of like Episode 3's battle system the best out of the series, but Episode 1 still has kind of a light for me just because it's not simple by any stretch, but I think it's the easiest. And I just think a lot of the battles in episode 2 and 3, and even in episode 1, the battles in the series just take too long. They really needed to still make it innovative, but keep it shorter. Good night, KOS-MOS. Speaking of what we're listening to, the music. Gorgeous. Like you would expect me to say anything else. I love video game music. I've been able to express that, I think, pretty well over any of my LPs. Doesn't seem no matter what game I'm playing, I always have comments on the music. This game, it's between this game and episode 1 for the best soundtrack in the series, and as far as emotional music goes, and mood setting and all that, episode 1 wins out. Mitsuda can't be beat. This game is right behind it, though. The music here is powerful, it fits the mood, it sets the stage, and
Save the game?
other than save the game, there's a lot to it. Now, controller fell asleep a long time ago, we can save the game. But yeah, I think the music is just awesome for this whole series. I will save over that one, sure, why not, doesn't really matter. Game cleared data. Let's load said data. I'm not going to go too far into this now, but we are going to load this up and take a quick look. First, they're going to tell us about the swimsuit mode. Press the triangle button when selecting the scene to switch to the swimsuit mode. I don't think you can do this generically through the game. You have to do it through something else, which I'll go over later. Game bonus clear thing. Acquired Alan's swimsuit for cutscenes, and the Flawless, which they don't tell you who it's for, but it's for Chaos. And it's basically just the costume we saw him in Shion's vision of the past. Anyway, the database has been updated. Yes, we had 100% before, but anything that says up or update doesn't count toward 100%. It's just additional information. There's a lot of information to go over. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish the review, move on to the voice acting. The voice acting. The voice acting is a nice return to form after episode 2. They brought back the voice actress for Shion and for KOS-MOS. They put in great performances in this game. In fact, I was actually reading a review that just tore the music and the voice acting to shreds and said it was all garbage. And I look at some of these reviews, it's like, no, you guys have some problems here. You can't just discard something because it doesn't fit with you. You have to kind of try and analyze it. Do they put in a good performance? In fact, I think with a particular review I'm thinking of, they didn't even play the English dub. They played the Japanese and praised the Japanese and said the dub was garbage without even listening to it. So, what do they know? But the voice acting, it's really good. There are hits and misses. Episode 1 still kind of dominates. This is why Episode 1 is my favorite in the series. When I remembered back to the game, when I hadn't played any of them in years and years and years, 10 years or something like that, I was remembering back. I remembered Episode 3 being my favorite. And it makes sense because the most happens in Episode 3. Everything happens. We have the great allusions to the Christianity religion. We see Jesus frickin' Christ. All this stuff happens. KOS-MOS is destroyed, reformed, does lots of badass stuff. Chaos finally comes out and explains stuff that's going on. Lots of really cool stuff. The characters, that moves into the characters. The characterization in this game is good. Really good, in fact. The thing that makes it fall apart, I think, are the few plot holes that really get under my skin. The Milshin time travel thing, I think that was a big fuck up on the creators' parts. It really just kind of screwed everything up, in my opinion. I wish they had found a different way to give us this information without calling it time travel and half of the information being right and half of it not being right. They do fix a lot of it in the database by saying what we saw was true, part of what we saw was true, but you really have to go back and read through the database and replay the game after that to really get a good understanding of what's going on. And that's both a good and a bad thing. That's really Xeno as a series in a nutshell. A decent game on first playthrough that you won't understand, a good game on the second playthrough that you'll understand more, and after you do some research and play through for a third time, that's when they get great. Any problems you have with certain aspects of characterization, such as, Shion's bitchiness, or stupidity on the part of both Junior and Shion at different points in Episode 2 and 3 aside. Great characters, a few hiccups here and there, but all around, I love most of the characters in this game. Like, Ziggy didn't really have a purpose in this game. He didn't need to be here, but he stuck along anyway, and, Richard Epcar does a great performance on him, as he always does. Momo's voice actress came from Episode 2 and puts in a way better performance this time around. My props to her. KOS-MOS is great. Shion, emotional performance. Holy shit. Chaos, he's kind of there. Wilhelm, certain aspects of what Wilhelm does I like, certain ones I don't. Jin does a great job as always. I like a lot of how the characters end. You know, they finally end after all this time. It works out really well, I think. But with the story in general, it's good. Like they capture a lot of the storylines that we built up. Not all of them are answered, and they take to the clear data and going into the database to really explain and understand it all, which is what we're doing next time, by the way. And yeah, it's a good storyline, but it needs more, and that's indicative of the fact that the series was canceled down to 3 games instead of 6, unlike what they really wanted. And if they had had more time to get into it, I'm sure it would have turned out better. But that didn't happen. So with what we have, I highly recommend this series. One of my favorite series of all time. Very excellent. Music's great. Story's great. Problems there. There's problems in every game. But overall, highly, highly, highly recommended. I really love this game. But that's not it. No. We've got a little more. We've got to show off all the swimsuits, which I have all of them. We also have some special armor for a few characters here and there. And we have all the stuff in the database to go into. And I probably have a full episode in the database because this information is important. If you're not into that, we will do database next time, and then we'll do swimsuits. And what else do I have to do? Once I'm finished with episode 3 and showing off what remains, probably 2 more episodes of bonus content, I want to get into one final analysis and review of the series as a whole. I kind of talked about it a bit here, but there is more that we can get into, specifically after we talk about the things in the database that bring up more ideas. I may be able to cram it into the database once and just spread that a little more, but we'll see. Anyway, that's all for the finale of Let's Play Xenosaga Episode 3. I hope you enjoyed it. I sure as hell did. And I'll see you guys next time.